This is DJB. Welcome to Photo Critic TV, everybody. What's happening? This is just a very, I was going to say very short, but I was going to say mini. Should we call this a mini episode? It's gonna be, what?
No.
I'm calling it's a mini episode. Guys, I don't know if you've heard today about the news that Christie's auction house, who are located all over the world, they've actually just broke the record for the most expensive photograph ever sold. And it was photographed from a guy named Andrea Gursky, I think that's correct. He's a German bloke. This photograph sold for $4.3 million at auction. And I just wanted to, first of all, what I'm going to do is just do what I usually do with photographs and do a little bit of a critique on it. This is just my personal opinion, and I'm fully aware that I'm going to get some people retorting this, telling me that I just really just don't understand the genius behind it. So that's fine, go right ahead, I've got no problems there. But we're also going to talk a little bit about, I've actually found the lot notes from Christie's auction house, and I'm going to read you those out so you can see what the prospective buyers were told about the photograph before they were actually started bidding on it. To start with, this is a photograph of the Rhine, which is one of the longest rivers in Europe. And I'm just going to tell you what I like about the photograph. Mostly, the simplicity is great. Like just beautiful, straight lines. And that's about it. That's all I can think of. To me, the photograph is just a little bit boring. And there's not really much to say about it, really. It's hard for me to understand why this photograph is sold for so much money, and I guess it has crossed over into the world of art, where the value of artwork is something that I really just do not understand. But Aaron, I'm just going to get a quick, we normally do an OTB off the bat, but Aaron's said this before, and we've actually been talking about this for a while. Aaron, beyond the frame.
Yeah.
What do you think about Gursky's photograph that's worth $4.3 million? First of all, would you pay that much?
No, something is only worth what someone's willing to pay for it. And clearly, the person that bought that has got more money than sense.
Okay, that's your opinion?
That's my opinion. So I don't personally think it's worth
that much money. So I guess the thing is, we can look at this photograph purely just from a technical point of view, and without really understanding the kind of, I guess, the history, the culture, anything about the actual artist who took the photograph, and Aaron and I not really understanding its place in the wonderful world of art. So it's easy for us to purely look at this from a technical point of view and just say, it's boring. I wouldn't pay that much money for it. But yeah, I actually kind of agree with what you're saying. So, is there anything that you like about the photograph? I'll show you it again. I mean, what sort of feeling, what do you think, how do you feel when you look at this photograph?
I just feel I don't know, it's not a good thing, but it just looks plain to me. Like there's nothing of interest in the scene.
Okay.
At first glance, I didn't even know it was a river.
What did you think it was?
I don't know, I just thought it could have been a road or something. Maybe I wasn't looking at it close enough.
Okay.
But it just looked like he stopped by the side of the road, taken a happy snap photo, and now it's gone for $4.3 million. And
it's hard to understand.
That's hard to understand. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. So guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out the lot notes from and also a little bit of a quote from Gursky himself. So this is from Andrea Gursky himself. There is a particular place with a view over the Rhine which has somehow always fascinated me, but it didn't suffice for a picture, as it basically constituted only part of a picture. I carried this idea for a picture around with me for a year and a half, and thought about whether I ought to perhaps change my viewpoint. In the end, I decided to digitalize the pictures and leave out the elements that bother me. So what he's actually saying is that he's digitally manipulated this photograph. He's taken what was originally a photograph and he has removed parts of it to his liking. And in the end, I decided to digitalize the pictures and leave out the elements that bother me. So I mean, that's really just photoshopping. But Aaron and I were having this discussion about at what point does a photograph become a piece of digital art? And we found this question very difficult to answer. So what do you guys think about that? At what point does a photograph become a piece of digital art? What do you guys think about that? If you want to leave some comments, that will be very interesting. But we've decided that it's very difficult to draw the line between, especially when we don't have a reference point here. So if we could see the original image and then see the final product that we have, then maybe we can kind of decide about whether he's gone too far with the digital manipulation. But again, that's just our opinion about it. What were we saying? What were we saying before about color correction is fine, cropping is fine, but removing elements that weren't originally there,
or adding elements,
that weren't originally there, then you're crossing a line. Yeah, I kind of agree with you there, but I think also what we were saying was each picture we think has to be kind of looked at at an individual basis to work out whether it's gone into that world of digital art. Again, I think with this photograph, I didn't know that he'd actually digitally manipulated this photograph when I first saw it, so I would have thought that was just a photograph. But he's telling us differently here. So listen to this. I'm just going to read out the lot notes from the auction. So, a breathtaking masterpiece of scale and wonderment, as well as the icon of Andrea Gursky's pioneering photographic oeuvre, Rhine 2 enwraps the viewer in the sheer beauty of its scene. Reaching out towards infinity, the work invokes a contemporary take on this sublime with the outstanding perfection of line and colour achieved through the invocation and apparently natural landscape. Reflecting on Barnett Newman's historical search for the abstract sublime in the 1950s, here, Gursky adopts this metaphor and applies to it perhaps the most symbolic motif in German art. In doing so, he creates a dramatic and profound reflection on human existence and our relationship to nature on the cusp of the 21st century. For Gursky, as for many of his art historical predecessors, the Rhine is of almost totemic significance. Spanning the full width of the epic picture plane, the Rhine's captivating riverine landscape appears vibrant with bands of bright emerald green grass and slivery water. The ripples across the surface of the river illuminated with brilliant, hyper-real detail. Above the straight course of the river lies an atmospheric blue-grey sky, thick with dense clouds which almost bisects the composition, presenting a distant, unobtainable horizon far beyond the lush riverbank. One of the most powerful and profound depictions ever to be created of the Rhine, the photograph's unique scale draws an ineffable link to the actual natural landscape, inviting the viewer to cross over into its vivid picture plane.
I don't know where they get this ripples or the crystal on the water. I'm not seeing it. Maybe bad exposure. I'm not seeing diamond glistens. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's interesting to say here that they're saying the photograph's unique scale draws an ineffable link to the actual natural landscape. Like, isn't that what a photograph is? I thought it's a photograph of the natural landscape. So if it's drawing an actual link to it, surely that's obvious because it is the landscape. But I'm not really quite sure. I find this really difficult to understand, but that's that one. Let's just go, I'm going to go to the next one. This was actually the previous record holder for most expensive photograph in the world. And this was again sold through Christie's. I mean, it's just a nice photograph of a girl lying on bricks to me. The colours are really nice. I think I like the checkered, the orange theme that's running throughout. The colours are very in touch with each other, I think. The framing is nice. It's definitely a tight framing. Someone would say that maybe they'd want to see a little bit more of, like, step back a bit and maybe see a little bit more, because we can kind of see on the left hand side like a little bit of her shoe there, and obviously there are kind of limbs cut off and such, but again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Aaron, beyond the frame, what do you think about this one? Just quickly, what do you like about it?
It's easy for me to say maybe what I dislike, and it's not a lot, but I definitely think the cropping's too tight. Cuts off half her head.
Is there anything that you like about it?
The colours are nice. I don't see a lot of skill in this particular photo.
Okay, cool. Just remember here, guys, we are only looking at this purely from not knowing anything about the artist and not knowing anything about the photograph. We're just looking at this from a technical point of view. So technically, we both agree that we think it's just, yeah, it's nice. It's okay. I've seen better. Pretty much. That's where we're headed at. So what I'm going to do is actually with this one, I'm going to read out also the lot notes from Christie's. So have a listen to this one. Sherman adopted the persona of a teenage girl in this large, almost life-size photograph, lying supine on the floor, clutching a page torn from the newspaper classifieds. Who is this girl? Why is she lying on the floor? Is she scheming to find true love, or the broken-hearted victim of a failed love affair? The work exudes shock and confrontation through its scale and boldness of Sherman's tight compositional framing. Yet the figure at the work's centre is also endearing and curiously vulnerable. Sherman places these conflicts at her work's very heart, as she questions not only the medium of photography, but also our wider assumptions about gender and truth in the modern world. The girl in the gingham dress does not meet our gaze, but instead looks off into the middle distance, as if distracted by dreams of an unrequited love affair or romance that is still a figment of her imagination. However, her schoolgirl naivety is betrayed by her freshly painted blood-red nails, heavily ruffed cheeks and bright red lipstick, all signs burgeoning sexuality, all enhanced by the provocative upturned hem of her skirt. So guys, that in some ways that's actually kind of a critique, I guess. But they're obviously drawing like a lot more about the emotion of the photograph than we are when we're just kind of looking at the technicals. But I mean, me personally, like half of this stuff about exude shock and confrontation, I can't really see that, to be honest. To me, that's not really shocking. It's just kind of quite a normal photograph.
To me, it's proof that a picture can tell 1,000 words. You can make up any story. Like you could say she was lying on the floor because the kitchen exploded meters in front of her. She's got ruffled up cheeks because the heat. You could make up anything.
Yeah.
In this one, it's open to interpretation, really. Whether that's true, or whether it's someone really reading every between the line.
True.
To draw every possible conclusion from this picture. Whereas I look at it and say, well, she's laying on the floor. Why?
Who knows?
Probably because the photographer posed her that way, or...
Well, I think she actually took a photo of herself or something.
Okay.
Anyway, guys, that's it for this little special episode. So, if you have got any comments about what do you think about these photographs, and do you think that the first photograph, do you think that they should be worth around 4 million each? Anyway, guys, that's it from me. We'll catch you very soon with the next episode of Photo Critic TV. Catch you later.